Introduction to the Trajectory of Xin Li Ye. Shame on you, what a shame. Yes, the 8 leaves one blade flow has the curse of conquering his wife Keji. Even if Keji is a friend, he can conquer his own wife. What's the point of conquering someone else's wife? You're still the Empire Peach Blossom Sword, and you've even become a sword saint. You're really talented, don't you think so? Lien Shu Huaze. Ah, I can't bear to watch anymore. Here are 2 gifts for you, give you another chance, roll back to the past and create a different future for me. Someone said this and kicked Ren Shuhuaze back to April 1st, 1206 in the Gregorian calendar, which is the most important time point at the beginning of Flash Trail 3. Chapter 1. Opportunities for a Comeback. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. That was really a long battle. Together with irreplaceable friends and enemies entangled in causality. In this battle that swept across the entire continent, almost everyone lost a lot and grew a lot. This also includes him, floating in the darkness. As the center of the storm and a key figure, he gained much more than others, and also lost much. The past is vividly remembered. Enrollment, internal turmoil, loss of irreplaceable friends, becoming so-called heroes. Carrying the so-called hero's name, lost and lost. Graduating from school, becoming a teacher, experiencing new challenges. War broke out again, and in order to prevent the war, he fought with his biological father in the end. After paying a huge price, he regarded himself as a sacrifice, carrying all of this, and taking the root cause of the war and all the culprits away from his country and the world he lived in. The future is the eternal calamity between them. However, he did not feel dissatisfied with it. Because his departure can bring stability and peace to the people he values, the country he belongs to, and even the entire world. He has an obligation to look back. If you insist, it is probably that you were unable to save more people and implicate 2 important partners in this final eternal calamity. He hopes they can live well, even though it's not realistic at all. Of course, from another perspective, this is also a good thing, at least with the company of companions, he will not feel lonely and will not yield to the terrible eternal calamity. Give me. Give me. Everything belongs to me. The sound echoing in my mind is endless, so terrifying that it makes me shudder from inside out. But when I think of the friends, relatives, and companions living far away by my side, I recall them calling out their names time and time again, Lien Shu Huaze. Shu Huaze. He will emerge with endless fighting spirit. I won't lose. Even if it keeps getting entangled with that voice. Even if it stays forever in the darkness and falls into eternal slumber. Endless darkness, endless silence, time loses its meaning here. He doesn't know how long it has been, he just feels that his eyelids are getting heavier and his consciousness is becoming increasingly dull. In a moment of half-dreaming and half-waking, hazy and confused, he heard a sneer. Shame, it's really embarrassing. Yes, the 8 leaves one blade flow has the curse of conquering his wife Keji. Even if Keji is a friend, he can conquer his own wife. What's the point of conquering someone else's wife? You're still the Empire Peach Blossom Sword, and you've even become a sword saint. You're really talented, don't you think so? Lien Shu Huaze. Who? He, Ren Shuhuaze, wriggling his lips that had not been open for too long, made a long voice. Has the curse of black undergone a new change? Ah, that's enough. I know you've been severely cursed, but you shouldn't have lost the most basic judgment, right? Can that guy talk to you so smoothly like me? He'll just keep repeating the same words, making people restless. Lien admits that the voice makes sense. He, who was eager to curse himself, was well aware of the essence of the curse. It was a result of the expansion of desire, a collection of evil thoughts, and a manifestation of chaos. Since the essence is chaotic, there won't be much logic to speak of, let alone a clear and organized conversation with oneself. Moreover, He had carefully listened, and the black curse was still repeating the craving declaration that had been said countless times. But since it's not the black curse, what would it be? Lien calmed down and tentatively asked, "What the hell are you? Human? Goddess? Devil? It doesn't matter what I am, and I can't understand it even if I tell you. But that may not dispel your guard, because you are a person who takes things too seriously. Just say a few more words. I'm a man, so I'm not a goddess. I used to be a human like you. As for what I am now, it's not too late to tell you when you can transcend the world with your true abilities, rather than this clever way." Although he didn't understand all the meanings that the voice was trying to convey, Ryan was still able to discern 2 points. Firstly, the sound is not malicious. Secondly, the master of sound is a powerful existence that transcends humanity. This is a forbidden zone for humans outside the world, capable of transmitting sounds to themselves without disturbing the black curse. These 2 points alone exceed Lien's imagination. Why did such a powerful existence find itself? Lien wanted to ask, but before he could ask, his voice spoke out his doubts first. "Your next sentence is, 'Why are you looking for me?'" Lien nodded and said, "Why are you looking for me?" The voice replied, "Because we have some connection, although you don't know. You have been living such a miserable life, and I really can't bear to watch it, so I came to help you." "Help me?" Lien suddenly exclaimed, "How can you help me? Can you help me lift the curse?" "Sure, it's just a small matter." "What about sending me and my friends back to Semlia?" "No problem, but are you sure you want me to do this?" "What does it mean?" Lien didn't understand. "I can lift the curse and send you back, but the lives taken by the curse will not come back. Your 2 friends are also closely related to the curse, and lifting the curse will also lead to their death, just like other undead people. Lien's excited mood instantly froze. He knew the voice was right, which was also the reason why the 2 had to come here with him. "Is there no way to save them?" "Unfortunately, saving people is not something I am good at. Although I do know the way to resurrect the undead, even if I save them, others won't be able to do it in time. If you really want to save them, go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to save those who shouldn't have passed away. You can only rely on yourself." Upon hearing the first half of the sentence, Lien's heart had already cooled, but he didn't expect the second half to reignite his hope. "What you mean is, there's still a chance to salvage everything?" The voice said sharply, "Whether or not you can save depends on yourself. Please tell me what I should do." Lien did not hesitate at all, even if the cost was his life. He had no complaints or regrets. "It's up to you to figure it out on your own. What I'm telling you is my answer, not yours. But I can send you back and give you a chance to start over. Try again." He couldn't believe his ears. He hammered his thigh hard, making sure it wasn't a dream before continuing. "Is it really? Okay. Of course, that's why I came." There was a hint of certainty in my voice. "What do I need to pay?" Lien asked again. He is no longer a teenager, knowing the truth that there is gain and loss. "No need, I really want to reciprocate. Let's wait until you have a different future. Nevertheless, I'll send you back like this. Even if you can avoid this ending, you may not be able to save everyone. Forget it, save someone to the end. I'll give you 2 more gifts." "What gift?" Lien knew that greed was not right, but at this moment he couldn't help but not be greedy because it was related to human life. "Just go back and you'll know. Use them well and let me see the most perfect future. Let's go." Lien wanted to ask again, but the owner of the voice didn't give him a chance to speak, so he gave it to him from somewhere. Lien felt as if he had been kicked in the back of the head, accompanied by a whirlwind, and he completely lost consciousness. Chapter 2. Really coming back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In front of me, the sky is bright. In my ears, the sound of water babbling and clear crying. In the air, there is a faint fragrance of flowers, refreshing the heart and soul. I involuntarily patted my cheek, making my chaotic consciousness clearer and my gaze clearer. The sky light comes from the sun, and today is a cloudy day with mild sunshine that is not dazzling. The cry comes from birds, leaving a beautiful silhouette in the cloudy sky. The sound of water is right in front of us, a circular fountain. The fragrance of the flowers comes from the roadside and is a common Leno flower in this country. White and light pink petals fall in the wind, crossing irregular curves and adding a unique beauty to the originally ordinary streets. Street. A young man named Ren Shuhuaze is standing there at this moment. The size of the street is not large, and it cannot be considered bustling, let alone lacking any obvious features. It is a common scenery in small and medium-sized towns. But it is this kind of scenery that almost brings tears to the heroes who have gone through storms, visited many places, and even saved the world once. His eyes were dazed and he murmured softly, "This is rivers." As he spoke, the young man rubbed his eyes hard, looking incredulously at the scenery before him that he had seen countless times before. He rubbed his eyes again and again, tears streaming down his face. "It's not wrong, this is Rivers, Station Square. I really came back. No, it's not certain yet. There are other possibilities, maybe it's been a year already." Despite that, he still wanted to believe the voice he heard in the darkness, hoping that it was the least possible and most elusive possibility. He began to search for strong enough evidence to accurately prove his time point. At that moment, his ears heard a different sound. Lien. The voice of a woman, with the unique delicacy of a young girl, calls out his name. It is not a strange voice, on the contrary, very familiar. During the period before sinking into darkness, I could almost see it every day and be called out to by her every day. Turning your head at the fastest speed, your gaze naturally shifts downwards. Prolonged interaction has already ingrained a certain cognition in your instincts. If you look straight, you are the owner who cannot see the sound. That is a woman who can be described as petite, both in height and physique, resembling a girl of 13, 4, or even 11 or 2 years old. But that's just a matter of appearance. The age of women has already surpassed the limit of girls, 1 year older than Lien herself. Tova. Senior sister. The woman's name blurted out, and memories of her quickly emerged. Tova, full name Tova Herschel, was Lion's senior sister during her student years and also the student president. During her time at school, she paid a lot of attention to Lien and even had occasional contact after graduation. She is a very capable, outstanding, and lovely girl. Forgive Lien for not using a female description, as Tova's appearance is so deceptive that every time I see her face, it's difficult to associate her with the term mature woman. The downward gaze lingered on Tova's face for a moment, and suddenly Lien was awakened and hurriedly asked, "What time is senior sister now? How many years, months, and days?" Tova tilted her head, although her face was puzzled, she still answered Ren's question truthfully. "Ah duo, it's April 1st, 1206 in the Chiao calendar." "Why do you ask this?" This answer left Lien standing there, unable to control himself and muttering to himself. "On April 1st, 1206, I really came back. Isn't this really a dream?" Tova beside her became more and more confused as she listened, carefully touching Ren with her hand and saying, "Is everything okay? Lin. What's back? What's not a dream? You probably slept too deep on the train, and you're still feeling groggy now, right?" "No, I didn't." Lien shook his head first, then changed to nodding. "No, my senior sister was right, that's it. I'm feeling drowsy." Traveling through time and space, returning to the past is not something that can be casually expressed. To take a step back, even if it is said, will anyone believe it? This kind of fantasy is likely to be mistaken for a dream talk. That's good, just pass it off as a dream talk. Without much thought, Tova turned her head back and put on the demeanor of a senior, saying seriously, "You can't do this, Lin. You're no longer a student, you're a teacher, you have to lead by example." "Yes, senior sister is right, I will reflect." Lien lowered his head and obediently received the scolding. "Is that right? If you can't even do yourself well, how can you teach your students?" Halfway through, Tova caught a glimpse of the smile on Lien's lips, and her face suddenly became tense. She clenched her small fist tightly and shook it up and down. "Mo, what are you laughing at? Am I wrong? How could that be? My senior sister was right, but..." At this point, Lien squinted his eyes and the curve of his mouth became softer. "Listening to my senior sister say this to me, it feels like I'm back in first grade. My senior sister is the student president, and I often run to the student union, which is a bit nostalgic." "Ah, that's true." Upon hearing Lien's words, Tova would also recall her own student days. 2 years have passed without realizing it. We have all graduated, and you have also become a hero. Looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, what kind of hero? Lien couldn't help but tremble in the corner of his eyes. "Others don't know, but you don't know, senior sister. It's just a government push to attract attention." Before Ren could finish speaking, Tova interrupted forcefully, "That's all for now. You can't say such things recklessly. I made a mistake." Lien also understood the truth, only recalling the painful scene and unable to control his emotions for a moment. Fortunately, there is still a chance, and what is stirred up on this earth is both curse and hope. The immortal can be saved, that mysterious voice said. Although I didn't tell him the method, it guided him in the direction. This time, it must be saved, it can be saved. Lien said this to himself. Noticing that Ren's emotions were not quite right, Tova's attitude softened and she said with some nervousness, "Well, I didn't mean to put on the airs of a senior, just." "It's okay," Lien shook his head slowly. "Senior sister has always been a senior sister, and even after graduation, she is also a senior sister. Should I call President Tova the same as before?" "Please don't do this," Tova quickly objected. "I'm no longer the student president. Although it's a bit regrettable that I can't hear my junior call like that, it still doesn't work." "Well, that's really a pity," Lien sighed. "It's getting late, should we go there? It's a new workplace." You need to be prepared, Lin. The new workplace will be busier than at school," Tova kindly reminded. The preparation was already done. Lien's expression was firm, both speaking to Tova and to himself. Not only in the workplace, but also in that not-too-distant future. This time, we must cut through the darkness and create a better ending. Chapter 3. Ren Shuhuaze, 20 years old, is a teacher. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Accompanied by the lovely Senior Tova, we walked through a small town unrelated to the hustle and bustle, up a long slope, and our destination for this trip was the new workplace, the second branch of the Toll's Sergeant College. Our school, Toll's Non-Commissioned Officer College, is a long-standing non-commissioned officer school dedicated to cultivating elite talents for the empire. As for this branch school, it was only established this year. The reason for its establishment is not because there are too many students in the school and it needs to be separated, but because the elites and talents it accommodates are very special and need to be labeled as troublesome. In school, from instructors to students, there are various troublesome backgrounds, experiences, backgrounds, and even their own personalities. There are families of political failures, colonial backgrounds, former hunters, and even orphans who are secretly involved in the empire. Lien himself is also a seemingly glamorous hero, but in fact, he is an involuntary government puppet. Not to mention the terrifying background that may not be believed by anyone even when spoken out. In contrast, Miss Tova, who has a pure background and outstanding abilities, is highly regarded by the government, military, and wealthy individuals as a super talented person. She is completely different here. I heard that in order to enter here, she even politely declined the invitation from the railway police force, which is the fastest promoted and can be considered a step up in the military. To be honest, Lien is quite regretful for her. You should know that this senior sister led Tor's students to fight in various directions during the Civil War 2 years ago, and made countless contributions. With her abilities and various skills, it is not impossible for her to become the head of the military police in just a few years. However, this is a rational plan, and emotionally, Lien feels that it is very pleasing and reassuring to see this lovely senior who is worth relying on here. Especially when he saw her wearing a white uniform and standing in front of the new school, smiling and saying to him, "Welcome to the newly opened Tolls Officer College. Second campus in Rivers." The string that had always been tense in Ryan's heart completely relaxed for the first time. Whether it was the first time in memory or the second time since starting over. Although it is a new construction, the layout of the branch campus is basically the same as that of our school. Even if Lien came for the first time, he did not feel unfamiliar, let alone now it is a second experience. The first sight upon entering is the largest teaching building. The main school building, with a library and a student union for student activities next to it. Behind the school building is a training ground that also serves as a playground, and next to the training ground is a dedicated railway line and transportation station that the school originally did not have. The destination for Lien and Tova, who have already graduated from school, is no longer the student classroom, but the strategy conference room dedicated to instructors on the first floor of the main school building. From today on, they will be the instructors of the second branch of Tolls. Inside, there are already 2 young people waiting. A blonde military uniform, a red-haired casual suit, older than Lien and Tova, with the same physique and height, standing side by side feels very oppressive. The blonde named Michael Irving, a major belonging to the railway constabulary, was sent to the school as a chief instructor, equivalent to a typical school instructor, specifically responsible for monitoring these problematic students and instructors. I have outstanding abilities, both civil and military, and like Tova, I am an all-around talent. I have a close relationship with Ryan's old acquaintance, the head of the railway police force, Clea Levitt, but due to certain issues, the relationship between the two parties is quite strained. He has a calm and selfless style, but Lien knows that he has a cold face and a warm heart, and is a good instructor who is very considerate of students. The redhead's name is Randolph Orlando, nicknamed Randy, and he was sent as a lieutenant instructor by the Imperial Army's Crossberg side. The real identity is actually one of the rebels who are still resisting the Empire, but due to various reasons, they have to temporarily obey the Empire. Before Crossberg was occupied by the Empire, he was a member of the Special Task Support Division, which was part of the local police department in Keji. Previously, he was the young master and captain of the strongest hunting corps in the Western continent, known as the Red Constellation. He was known as the son of the fighting god, and shook the dark world. Therefore, when Lien first met, he gave him a great warning, fearing that he would harbor evil intentions and cause trouble. Of course, definitely not now. Because Lien already understands his ideas and reliable nature, and sees him as one of the potential allies. While recalling their intelligence, Lien introduced himself to Michael and Randy. Lien also responded with appropriate self-introductions, followed by customary social language and small talk, as well as slightly suggestive conversations. After all, not everyone has a chance to start over like Ryan, and the first meeting can only be based on the intelligence and first impression collected. However, with Ren's intentional concession and Tova's reconciliation, the smell of gunpowder quickly dissipated. They are all adults, each with their own struggles, and they have to eat in the same bowl. No one wants to make things too awkward. Randy also revealed her true nature and asked Tova if she was 17 years old, finally adding a cheerful atmosphere to the conference room. In addition to the 4 instructors, there are also 2 school staff members, namely the sub-principal and special advisor standing above the instructors. They also arrived at the conference room after the atmosphere eased. Both of them are old acquaintances of Lien. An elderly man with white beard and hair, wearing a white coat and a monocle in his right eye, is a national treasure-level talent of the empire and a renowned leader in power technology worldwide, Dr. G. Schmidt. In the civil war that engulfed the entire empire, Lien was given crucial assistance by crafting a special Semelian stone sword for his god of cavalry, which has accompanied him throughout his battles to the present day and has been almost invincible. But afterwards, the two never met again because the doctor had a quirky personality and had been alone since he was young. He gave up on studying something else and was known as the man who devoted his life to leadership. I came here as an advisor this time because there is something he is interested in here, otherwise he wouldn't have bought face from the emperor, prime minister, or even the goddess. It is not difficult to see from his words that Lien will once again become his experimental subject, and there will inevitably be some twists and turns. Fortunately, Lien has become accustomed to it. Since stepping into tours, he has been involved in trouble and can't even get rid of it. What else can he do if he's not used to it? The other person is a woman in her 30s, dressed in a noble attire with a cape, silver hair and purple pupils. Her figure and appearance are impeccable, but everyone who has seen her will overlook these important factors that affect their first impression. Due to her aura, her presence is too strong, to the point where appearance and age are eliminated, and gender is no longer important. Her name is Aurelia Leguin, and she is the top boss of everyone present. She is looking for the school principal at www.zhaozuiyuan.com. At the same time, he was also the head of the Leguin family, a contemporary Earl of Leguin, the commander-in-chief of the defeated aristocratic alliance in the Civil War, the leader of the Northern Campaign, and a famous general who personally annexed the state of Northumbria. He was crowned the strongest warrior of Erebonia under the name of the Golden Rasha. That's right, the strongest. At the current point in time, there may still be controversy, but it will soon become indisputable. The empire values martial arts, and there are so many people who practice martial arts. Their abilities surpass those of others and they reach the pinnacle. Aurelia always has the grandeur of the world, the courage to sacrifice herself, and the domineering presence of someone here to take my sword. Such a peerless and powerful person stood in front of Lien now, with a pair of purple eyes looking at him with interest. After seeing him uncomfortable for a while, he said again. I haven't seen you for half a year, and you're actually. Fun, really fun. Ren Shuhuaze, come and play with me. Lien. Clam. P.S. When I saw that my book friend wanted to give me a reward and support for this book, due to recent website turmoil and personal reasons, another book's grades were not ideal, so I didn't want to be polite to my book friends. A few more words. First of all, due to niche themes and unstable updates, signing up for this book is unlikely, so it is also not possible to directly reward in this book. If you want to support it, you can click on the name of the trader and choose other books to reward. On the web side, you can only see Perseus' Journey to the Chaldeans, and on the client side, you can see the previous Trajectory of the Lord Li, and What's the Business in the Xia Shenair. In addition, the trader also has a vest to write a book called Office Beyond Dimensions. Whether you subscribe or reward, it can be considered as support for the trader. Thank you here. Finally, let me say one more thing. For iOS users, please use web pages and never use clients. The original profit is half split between the starting author and the iOS 30% commission. I really can't bear it. Thank you very much. Chapter 4. The Essential Opening Ceremony. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lien was stunned. Not being stunned is not enough. Born in the Erebonia Empire, earning the title of Grey Knight, and even serving as a military instructor in a military academy, Ryan's martial arts skills are certainly not inferior. In fact, he studied under the Sword Immortal, Yun Kafai at the age of 9, practicing the famous 8 leaves and 1 blade flow on the top of the entire Semanian continent. Due to his exceptional experience in practical combat, he was among the most outstanding among his peers. But that's just the younger generation. Count Aurelia is the strongest in the entire empire, and looking at the entire continent of Semlia, there are several strong ones. Those who could catch her eye should be other top experts in the empire, or her master Yun Kafai, two senior brothers with the title of Sword Saint, Cassius Bright and Arius Macline. How could you keep an eye on yourself? Moreover, there is no such occurrence in my memory. Where exactly is the problem? Not only Lien, but others also have similar ideas. Those who can stand here are all powerful factions, each with their own channels. They have a basic understanding of the strength of Ren Shuhuaze, and if they are strong, they are already strong, but they are not enough to compare with Aurelia. I can't be too bored lately, holding it for too long, and finally seizing an opportunity to vent. Randolph blew a whistle and said, "You have a skill, Dean Lien. You can be liked by the college president." "Coach Randolph, please don't joke at this time." Tova gave Randy a disgruntled look and then turned to Ryan, with a somewhat anxious expression on her face. "Ryan. I know." Lin nodded apologetically to Aurelia, "I'm sorry, Dean. I'm not your match. If you're willing to teach me swordsmanship, I'd be happy, but now is not the time to teach." "Dull, weak." Aurelia snorted, not hiding her disappointment. "There is no warrior's courage at all. How can we be timid before fighting? We warriors climb the peak of martial arts to dare to challenge the strong. We only dare to draw swords at the weak, but dare not sword the strong, and are not worthy of being called warriors. This also applies to yourself. You are strong, I am weak, isn't it bullying the weak? Of course, thinking about it is one thing, Lien is not stupid enough to speak up, that is really difficult to end." Just as he was thinking about how to expose the matter, Michael spoke up. "For the time being, the matter of the martial artists' affairs will be left unattended. The time for the school opening ceremony is approaching. A reminder brings everyone back to the main topic. Today is the start of the campus, and there is a lot of follow-up work, not the time to discuss personal matters." Yes, the students are still waiting," Tova quickly agreed. "From my personal perspective, I still hope to watch the competition between the Golden Rakshasa and the Grey Knight," Randy said with regret as he rested his hands on the back of his head. "Humph, it's okay to have a fight with you," Aurelia said with a provocative smile. "I couldn't fight the God of War, having a son of God of War would be great. Please make sure to let me go." Randy's reaction was even more bachelor than Ryan's. "Dean." Michael couldn't help but remind again. "Got it, he's such a tangled man," Aurelia said impatiently. "Herschel, gather the chicks on the playground, and don't be late either." "Yes, Lien, see you later." Tova ran away. Other teaching staff have also left one after another. Finally, Aurelia cast another glance at Ryan, causing her scalp to tingle. She then dropped the following sentence. "I am looking forward to your performance. Show the character of the Grey Knight to the chicks." Then, he flew away. Leaving Lien alone in the same place, he continued to stare, feeling a growing sense of discord in his heart. But he also knew that it was not the time to think, so he followed the route in his memory and left the conference room towards the playground. As he walked out of the main school building, he suddenly remembered something and reached into his pocket to explore, taking out a rectangular box the size of a palm. "I knew it was here." There was a brand new pair of black framed glasses in the box, and Lien immediately clipped it onto the bridge of his nose. He adjusted his perspective left and right and nodded. "It's really much better with this, otherwise I wouldn't feel like an instructor." 10 minutes later, shortly after completion, on the playground without even a detailed division of the sports area, all students and faculty members gathered and the opening ceremony officially began. The usual speech of the college president, but the president himself did not follow the usual logic and struck a lightning strike at the beginning. Just as everyone vaguely noticed, this second branch is an abandoned child. For a moment, both students and faculty members had different expressions. The first time I heard it, Mr. Li was also startled and never thought that Aurelia would be so direct. Starting over again, I was still impressed by the aura of the college president, but lacked a bit of shock. I could listen to Aurelia's speech with a more calm attitude, and take advantage of my height and position to capture everyone's expressions and recall the information of the students. In order to welcome the Crown Prince, General School Tolls has carried out significant reforms this year, so they have sent all the troublesome individuals and those with somewhat special circumstances who have been excluded from the door to this place, whether it be you, the instructor, or even me. Jessica, Vine, Sydney, Maya, Freddie, Gustav, Leonora, and Ashu, together with 8 people from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, formed the Tactics Department of Class 8, with Randolph Orlando as the level instructor. The responsibility of the tactical class is tactics, and the ability to enter here is not inferior. However, there is also a saying called "often on the battlefield." To cultivate this rare atmosphere in daily life, this can also be said to be the most suitable place. Sandy, Kelly, Tita, Louis Jia, Tatiana, Valerie, Pablo, Stark, and Myo Jia, a total of 9 people, form Class 9, Chief Accountant, and the rank instructor is Tova Herschel. As soon as the name suggests, the main accounting department is responsible for logistics support work. However, considering the Imperial Martial Arts and Military School style, although the main accounting department is an auxiliary, it still maintains considerable combat effectiveness, especially under the leadership of the skilled Tova. Among them are 2 students whose own strength and background are not worthy. Those who have not realized the need to further improve themselves, leave now. If you don't want to slack off in practice and finally go see the goddess. Of course, no one will leave, and even cowards would not be willing to come here. Hee hee. Great, then welcome you to the second branch of the Tours Officer College. Young people, become the cornerstone of the world. Let me welcome you to school through the words of Emperor Draculus. The new school is not yet perfect in all aspects, everything has been simplified, and the opening ceremony has come to an end. Randy and Tova didn't say much, each leading 8 students to leave, and one of the students from the accounting department was called away by Dr. Schmidt. There are a total of 20 new students enrolled in this year, except for 17 who were separated by Randy and Tova, there are still the last 3. And these 3 people are Lien's students, and together they form Class 7, the Secret Service Department. Chapter 5. Class 7. Secret Service Department. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The class structure of the second branch of Tours follows that of the main campus, which has I.Vi classes, and the branch campus has 7.9 classes. Coincidentally, Lien's class during his student days happened to be Class 7, which may be fate's arrangement. Coincidentally, his Class 7 also has fewer students than other classes. Back then it was half of the I.V class, but now it's even less, only 1/3 left. However, a small number of people does not necessarily mean weak strength, due to various reasons. Since the establishment of Class 7, it has always been the strongest synonym. Whether it's cultural courses or practical martial arts, the leaders have always been the elites who can enter here, and this time is no exception. The fortunate ones who formed a teacher-student relationship with Lien are Kurt Vander, a 17-year-old boy with short blue hair, a slender figure, and a handsome appearance. Born in the capital city of Hadar, he was a member of the Vandal family, the former guardians of the imperial family. The Vandals emerged 250 years ago, with their ancestor Roland being the founder of the empire and the founder of the Tours Academy of non-commissioned officers. He was a close friend and guardian knight of Emperor Draculus the Great. In the Lion battle that swept across the empire, Roland died on the battlefield to protect Draculus. In order to commemorate his old friend, the emperor specially ordered the Vander family, where Roland was located, to serve as the guardians of the royal family. The Vander family has always adhered to the ancestral philosophy of guarding the royal family for generations, not only as members of the royal family guarding the knights, but also as their right-hand men. Until recently, it was not until Crown Prince Cedric Lai's Yenner statement, "The honor of guarding the royal family cannot be borne by one family," that he had to hand over this responsibility, which had been upheld for over 200 years. To be honest, Ryan feels a bit sorry for Kurt. Although the words were spoken by the Crown Prince, it was behind the scenes that Lion's biological father, the representative of the imperial government, iron-blooded Prime Minister, Helas Osborne, was pushed forward. However, his biological father was the reincarnation of Draculus, and Vander's responsibility began with Draculus and eventually ended with Draculus. This thought relieved him a lot. Altina Olian. A girl with long silver hair, petite and cute like a doll. The registered age is 14 years old, but in reality, it is an artificial human sacrifice made by the mastermind behind the Twilight Plan. Previously affiliated with the Imperial Intelligence Agency, he resigned automatically upon enrollment, and his contact and authority with the agency were basically revoked. Una Crawford. A 17-year-old girl with pink long hair, a muscular physique, always full of vitality, and a straightforward personality. Klossberg came from a background, and because he was annexed by the Empire, he harbored hostility towards the Empire and always spoke with thorns to the people of the Empire. However, compared to the previous two, her background can be said to be pure and clean, and she is the simplest member of Class 7 in all aspects. Although the reasons and original intentions for the three of them entering school are not the same, in Lien's view, they are all good children and the students he has made up his mind to protect. It is precisely for the sake of the person he wants to protect that he repeatedly throws himself into the battlefield and even bears the heavy burden again and again. Lien, who had just met for the first time, couldn't say these words. In the future, it may not be said that he is never the kind of person who talks about everything. He places more emphasis on practical actions than language, as it used to be, now it is, and it will not change in the future. In this way, the young teacher who sorted out his thoughts walked towards his students and took them to the Einher fortress located at the deepest part of the school, as requested by Dean Aurelia and Dr. Schmidt. The coursework in military academies is much more important than in general schools, and immediately after the opening ceremony, there is freshman training. Unlike other classes, the freshman training in Class 7 involves conducting a practical exercise called a strength test. New students engage in direct combat, which is extremely rare even in martial empires. However, Lien was not surprised, not only because of his comeback, but also because his first battle of new students was the same. Of course, it was at our school at that time, using ancient relics and old school buildings. The branch campus certainly did not have old school buildings, so we imitated the structure of the old school buildings and built a small fortress. For this kind of chaos, no, to be precise, it was a suspicious arrangement from the beginning. Una expressed great dissatisfaction and protested. But the next second, he was scolded by Michael, who accompanied him, with an unusually clear attitude. Military academies are soldiers, and soldiers should obey orders, either obey or roll back. It may sound unfriendly, but in reality, it is the best way to establish the authority of an instructor and solve problems in the shortest possible time. Anyway, this is always a military academy, and a military academy should have the appearance of a military academy. However, considering that Una is just a 17-year-old girl, Lien promptly took over the topic and led the three students into the small fortress, separating them from Mihaly. Before entering the small fortress, he calmly glanced at the bushes behind him, where there was a faint aura hidden. Lien has felt the same breath more than once, but unfortunately, the owner of the breath has not truly met him at this moment. Although he was curious about what might happen between the master of the aura and Michael, it was not the time to stay. So he didn't say much, and after a brief pause in his footsteps, he walked into the small fortress, allowing the fortress gate to automatically close. The design of the fortress is very Dr. Schmidt style, filled with the advanced sense of avant-garde technology everywhere, almost to say, "I am so awesome, if you don't agree, come and explore." In the following time, Dr. Schmidt took people to the control room to make final preparations, and Lien used this time to conduct a routine self-introduction session at the book garden www.zhaozhuiyuan.com. He also handed the latest tactical guidance device Arcugii and crystallization circuit to the students. Tactical guidance is a personal terminal that utilizes various functions through collaboration with its holder. It has been many years since its inception and its functions are becoming increasingly sophisticated. Not only can the crystal circuit refined from obsidian release various incredible power magic and enhance body functions, but it also integrates incredible functions such as cameras, communication, and tactical links to enhance team cohesion. If used proficiently, it can allow an ordinary person to unleash the power of a powerful warrior, making it one of Semlia's most avant-garde and well-known black technology creations. However, because it is too popular, almost everyone has one, so there is actually no sense of existence. Everyone has it, which can be considered as offsetting each other, and there is no need to elaborate too much. In terms of self-introduction, there is no difference from the first time, whether it is Lien or the students. The students have all experienced it for the first time. Through this observation, Lien can basically determine that he is the only one who has returned. Whether it is improvisation or preparation is unknown. Lien himself has carefully prepared his writing, tone, and every word and syllable, hoping to leave a good impression on the students. Unfortunately, the effect was not ideal. P.S. Tactical boosters in air orbit are relatively rare, but after so many years of constant updates, it is unlikely that they will be widely promoted. This can be seen from the development history of 3D smartphones. In 2008, HTC launched its first Android smartphone, and Apple should have been a little earlier. Within a few years, smartphones became widely available. Chapter 6. Habitual Flooring. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lien said so. Ren Shuhuaze graduated from the Tours Non-Commissioned Officer College, the main campus. He just graduated last month and only came to this second branch today to work as a novice instructor. He is responsible for guiding martial arts, mech training, and teaching history in the classroom. He should be the level instructor of Class VII's Secret Service Department. Please give him more guidance. In terms of self-introduction, there is no problem. Although not particularly outstanding, I have explained everything that needs to be explained. As a youth launched by the Empire, Koyen is now a young hero with a reputation that is too loud to be widely known. This mediocrity is already a problem, giving people a feeling that they are not as famous as they are when they meet. Fortunately, Lien himself didn't mind, whether he was roast, dissatisfied or even joking about the inappropriate glasses, he gladly took them over. Of course, it's impossible to change them, and it's not like a drill master without elegant glasses. The instructor was so calm that the students couldn't go too far, and the self-introduction section was able to continue. Kurt possesses aristocratic elegance and martial prowess, as well as the arrogance unique to young people. As soon as he saw Lien, he had the idea of asking for swords, and learning 8 leaves, 1 blade flow. Although Yuna thought Kurt was a bit crazy, Ryan actually thought it was very good, as Aurelia said. Daring to challenge the strong is the courage that a warrior should have. Of course, Lien also had this aura, but as he grew more concerned, he lost Kurt's elegance and sharpness. Yuna's introduction remained the same as before, with a hint of dissatisfaction towards the Empire, along with the anger of the Imperial instructor and classmates. Like a hedgehog, it explodes with just a touch. There is no derogatory meaning. On the first occasion, due to the one-word difference between the military and police, Ryan caused Yuna to go crazy, and the scene was very awkward. I definitely won't do it this time. After nodding, I handed over the baton to the last Altina. This one has the deepest connection with Lien among all students, and is also the one with the most selfish intentions. She, who comes from an artificial background, extremely lacks common sense as a human, and her emotional expression is also very problematic. Although it is much better than 2 years ago, it has only eased somewhat, not completely disappeared. As soon as I spoke, it was under the jurisdiction of the Imperial Intelligence Agency, a special organization that made both domestic and international audiences pale. I also reminded everyone not to care. Can we not care? Kurtz van der family and Eunice Klossberg resistance camp are both key targets of the intelligence agency's surveillance. If it weren't for Aretina's young appearance, cute appearance, and current resignation status, this matter would never have been so easily exposed. Of course, his biological father, who had a future memory of the reason for sending Altina, clearly understood that monitoring something was just a cover. He truly hoped that through his sense of responsibility as a teacher, he could truly complete Altina and grow into the most ideal sacrifice. Regarding this, Lien said that growth is necessary and that one must grow better, but that sacrifice cannot be imagined. Not only Altina, Altina's sister, but also Milliam, a companion of the old Class 7, will also guard it. As for how to solve the long-standing problem of the Empire without sacrificial offerings, Lien has not yet figured it out. Fortunately, there is still time, and there will definitely be a solution with that powerful gift. Lien firmly believes in it. It was at this moment that a girl's voice came from the loudspeaker in the lobby of the fortress. Einhell Training Fortress LV-0, set up. If you are not ready for Arcugii yet, please proceed. The speaker was a female student from Class 9, the Department of Accounting, who was called away by Dr. Schmidt. Her full name was Tada Russell and she came from Liebel. She was a classmate of Dr. Schmidt and the granddaughter of Dr. A. Russell, the first person in Liebel's field of leadership science. When they were young, the two studied under Dr. Epstein, who was known as the Father of Guidance, and were known as the Three Doctors, along with Dr. G. Hamilton, another fellow student of the Republic. They were the founders of modern guidance science. Obviously, this is another troublesome figure that is difficult to handle. Being able to study abroad in the Empire from Liebel, who has always had a weak relationship, and even being accepted as a disciple by Dr. Schmidt must have gone through quite a complicated negotiation. In addition, Lin also knows another insider. Tada Russell was a witness to the rebellion a few years ago and one of the heroes who solved it. The culprit of the rebellion and the root cause of the Empire's turmoil share the same standards and belong to the 7 treasures of the goddess. From this perspective, it is not an exaggeration to say that Tita is still the senior of Lien and has the strongest psychological quality among all the new students at the second campus. The two of them had a chance encounter on the train to Rivers, but unfortunately at that time, Ryan had not yet started over. Otherwise, he would have talked more with her and her companions to see if he could gain something from their experiences. Finally, after confirming with the students and receiving a prepared response from zhaozuiyuan.com, Lien replied in the direction of the sound. You can set off at any time. While speaking, the body naturally tightens and is prepared for falling, as can be heard from the conversation between Dr. Schmidt and Tada. Then start quickly. The starting point of LV0 is B1, and once it reaches the ground, it is considered complete. Bo, doctor, that red handle is. No, it's not possible, how could you suddenly use it? Humph, you're Russell's granddaughter. Don't tell me such obedient words. So, let me show you the skills of the 7-band spy department, and see if you can complete this trial block with results that exceed the average. At the moment when the word settled, the 4 of them suddenly stepped lightly, and the floor, which served as their foothold, tilted down at least 50 degrees, forming a steep slope. The floor is made of metal and is naturally smooth. It is normal to slip and fall without protection. Lien had already been prepared and could naturally respond calmly, adjusting the situation and sliding steadily along the slope. As for the students, it depends on their respective adaptability. Aretina, who comes from the intelligence agency, once caused Ren a lot of trouble as an enemy, but this kind of small obstacle is nothing at all. In the moment of slipping, he calmly called out, "Lightsaber." In the next moment, a black and blue puppet about 2 meters tall appeared out of thin air, with one arm dragging Altina's body and one person floating into the ground. Kurt and Yuna are going to suffer a lot. They don't have Altina's rich experience, nor do they have flying puppets, rolling all the way at a faster speed than everyone else. If nothing unexpected happens, the next scene will be a familiar one. Chapter 7. Seemingly Acquainted. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. On the ground in front of the slope, young girls entangled and fell to the ground. The girl pressed on the boy's body, her chest perfectly pressing on his face. What a delightful sight. Cough, no, a disaster. Sure enough, Lien knew he shouldn't show any emotions, but the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. By contrast, Kurt, who was under pressure, was much more composed. Encountering such a scene where a young girl blushes and her heart beats, she surprisingly remains expressionless and breathless, although it is also possible that she cannot catch her breath. Sorry, if you can move, could you please do it yourself? Although you are not very heavy, I have some difficulty breathing. What is that? Yuna, who was pressing herself down, woke up as if from a dream. She stood up as fast as she could, blushing and trembling all over, unable to speak. Kurt, who stood up with him, remained calm and said, "The so-called worldly wisdom doesn't seem to have much relevance at this time. I don't know how to defend myself, just give me a slap." Hee hee. Yuna laughed angrily at Kurt. "It's really admirable, but speaking so calmly like you makes me feel very angry, so I rudely went on fighting." Raise your hand, wave it down, with a crisp snap, exceptionally clear. Kurt's face showed 5 more red marks, indicating the importance of Yuna's actions. Despite this, Kurt remained calm and did not cry out for pain or frown. It can only be said that he is truly a descendant of Vander. Although he is much slimmer than his brother Mura, he is equally strong. The more he was like this, the more dissatisfied Yuna became, and she snorted, "So the boys from the Empire." "I don't think it has anything to do with being an imperial boy," Altina roast. Lien walked up to Kurt and patted the boy's shoulder, saying, "Is everything okay?" "It's nothing." Kurt finally had a change in his expression and spread out his hand with a bitter smile. "Sliding down in such a beautiful posture is my lack of cultivation. And even if it happened, it made the girl look so ugly. I also deeply felt that I was not yet mature." Immature student days are not a bad thing, everyone is slowly moving from immaturity to maturity, Lien comforted. "Is the instructor too?" Kurt asked. "Of course, lifting the floor is also considered a tradition in Class 7, said Lien without concealing it. "My first lesson on campus was also a strength test, and there was also such a mechanism. It was really miserable at that time. But looking back on it for so long, I will only feel nostalgic." "Really, the instructor?" Kurt's expression improved a lot. "Isn't it nostalgic for the same vulgar scene?" Altina coldly uttered a sentence that caught Yuna and Kurt's eyes, forgetting even the awkwardness. "What? The instructor also?" "Yes, it's said to be the same way. Overpowered by a girl, it seems like it's Eliza Lenfort." Without hesitation, Altina lifted Len's bottom. This time it was Ryan's turn to be embarrassed. "Altina, how did you know?" "Mil-I-am told me." Altina was very honest. "No, Miriam wasn't there either." "Ah, I know it must be Ulysses, this guy is so outspoken." Lien's attitude indicates that Altina is telling the truth. "Oh, indeed, the boy from the Empire." Yuna hugged her chest and took a few steps back to solidify her judgment. "That, the instructor is also being beaten," Kurt probed as he covered the area where he had been beaten. "Ah, I was beaten, and I'm not as calm as you are, so Kurt, you're more mature than me at the time." Lien, who was exposed to everything, was not only experiencing Kurt once, but also being suppressed, beaten, and angry during his teenage years more than 2 years ago. However, it cannot be denied that he really misses that time. At the beginning, all the awkwardness and opposition were transformed into bonds in daily interactions, and no matter what, they could not be separated from each other. This should be a good review, but I'm not happy at all. Even if Kurt was happy in his heart, he wouldn't show it on the surface. I won't say anything like, keep working hard, it's not appropriate, and now is not the time to talk about it. Lien used this method to put an end to the youth event. We still have business to do, everyone prepare for battle and shine their weapons. Are you really planning to cooperate with this farce? Yuna frowned. It's not a farce, Lien shook his head and said seriously, I understand the doctor. He doesn't know how to design a farce. As long as he does it, he will take it seriously. He is serious about testing the strength of the 4 of us. He doesn't want to get hurt or receive bad reviews, so he gives it his all and takes it seriously. Yuna was speechless. Understand. Kurt was the first to respond, taking out weapons from his long backpack that he carried with him, which were 2 single-handed swords. Just by drawing his sword and practicing his posture, it can be seen that he must have gone through years of training. As the 2 largest schools of art in the empire, the Vanderbilt flow, although famous for the rigid swordsmanship of large swords and heavy swords, is not just specialized in one field. In addition to the rigid swords, there are also double swords, single-handed swords, stabbing swords, and even marksmanship and archery, which is why it became popular in the empire, enduring for a long time, and left a great reputation on the continent of Semlia. Kurt, due to his physical condition, was not suitable for the power type of rigid swordsmanship, so he chose the agile route of double swordsmanship as his main attack direction. After all, not everyone is like Aurelia, able to wield a sword lightly. She is precisely the one who has practiced the true transmission of Vander's flowing swordsmanship, and at the same time, she has practiced the true transmission of the flowing swordsmanship of the other major school of the empire, the Arceder flow. As the leader of both schools, she ultimately won the title of the strongest warrior in the empire, and even the strongest warrior on the mainland. The opponent showed some signs, and Yuna was also unwilling to be outdone. She also took out her weapon from her backpack, which was also dual-wielded. However, it is not a traditional weapon like the double sword. Instead, it is a suppressive weapon that has only emerged in recent years, the police T-shaped crutch, which is a commonly used weapon in the Klossberg police force. Yuna uses the latest model, which not only has the striking ability of a regular baton, but also has a firearm mechanism installed for remote support, officially known as the crutch gun. According to Ryan's conjecture, the design of the Guega gun is likely a suggestion from Randy. One of the standard armaments of the Red Constellation he once belonged to was an axe and spear that could be used for melee and long-range shooting. It can be seen that Yuna has great confidence in her weapons and skills, and after putting on a good posture, she never forgets to provoke Kurt. My weapon is definitely more effective than the swords used by the Empire from before to now. Kurt continued to maintain a cold and stern image, not speaking, not taking over, as Yuna was the heir. Lien sighed inwardly, but now Yuna still has too little knowledge. When you see what the ultimate swordsmanship is, you will understand that martial arts is not as simple as you think. The true pinnacle of martial arts is that with a single sword strike, you can split open the armor of the main battle vehicle, and the sword energy can rival the shooting of the main gun. Modern guidance technology is far from crushing martial arts, and the ancient relics passed down from ancient times with unknown principles are still similar. Kurt didn't argue with Yuna because he knew this. His father, the head of the Vander family with the title of Thunder God, was a swordsman of this realm and one of the top 3 powerhouses in the empire. P.S. The strongest limited martial artist in Aurelia, those who open holy scars, possess ghostly aura, play magic, and engage in external reasoning are not included. PS2. Empire Warrior Mingyan Top 3, Aurelia, Thor, and Swordsman of Light. Swordsman has been stripped and can only rank 3rd. By the end of Flash 4, it may not be as good as Li Ye without cheats. Chapter 8. Am I like a sword saint? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Finally, Altina. I have seen the latest model of the Tactical Hub, a mechanical puppet named Lightsaber. The combat effectiveness is extremely amazing, and Lien has personally experienced it more than once. Even excluding combat experience, Altina is the strongest fighter among the 3 freshmen and even all freshmen. Just letting the lightsaber stop there blocked Kurt and Yuna's doubts about Altina's age and physique, and also understood why such a little girl would become a member of the intelligence agency. By the way, the appearance of the lightsaber also inadvertently dealt Yuna a blow. She was originally very confident in the performance of the crutch gun, but compared to the lightsaber, well, she could only comfort herself by saying that this puppet was still a secret of the Empire and not equipped on a large scale. Lien, needless to say, originated in the East and is a rare Tai Dao in the West Semlia continent. But students are no strangers. Although 8 Leaves and 1 Blade Flow has few disciples, it is well known among the martial artists. Kurt heard his father and brother mention it when he was very young, and his words were full of admiration and appreciation, which is why Kurt had the heart to ask Lien for his sword. Yuna is more familiar. Lien's second senior brother, Wind Sword Saint Arius McLean, is also known as the guardian god of Klossberg. His windy figure and faster blade were a common memory in the hearts of the people of Klossberg. Even if classified as fugitives by the Empire and pursued extensively, there are still a large number of supporters. As for Altina, she was once an enemy of Lien, having fought against him more than once, and later partnered with him for a considerable period of time. Not to mention her weapons, she was very familiar with even her moves. This is not to pretend to be handsome, but to have a thorough understanding of one's companions before the battle. Not only as the instructor, Lien, but also 3 students. Whether they are willing or not, they are all members of a small team now, and as long as they work together to kill the ground, they can end their strength test. The testing process confirmed Lien's judgment, and Schmidt was indeed serious and had no intention of playing around. Just a few steps away, a few people discovered the warcraft. Lien's approach follows past conventions by conducting exploratory contact first, allowing everyone to have a clearer understanding of the positioning and strength of their teammates. Kurt still takes the lead, and the double swords are known for their agile attack speed. They rarely make a single strike, mostly in a series of sword strikes. He, who had taken the lead, left a series of sword marks and retreated gracefully before the warcraft reacted, swapping positions with Yuna. The injured monster was enraged and roared as it collided, but was blocked by Yuna holding a crutch. Guai is a police weapon that is heavy on defense and not heavy on damage. It is difficult for her to deal a series of damage like Kurt, but when it comes to defense and obstruction, Guai is indeed more convenient than a sword. At the same time as she stopped, Altina also made a move, and the lightsaber appeared directly in front of the warcraft, punching it back. Well done, Altina. Lien seized the opportunity and flashed out from behind Yuna, drawing his sword while giving instructions. Kurt, follow me in pursuit. Yuna is always ready to defend and cover up. Altina. Halfway through, Lien found himself unable to continue because the warcraft had already died. Just during the time of speaking, just after pulling out the knife. One knife, only one knife. Despite being repeatedly attacked by Kurt, the warcraft still bounced around and was only a few steps back after being punched by the lightsaber. It was split in half and could no longer die. Kurt, who was preparing to patch up the knife after Lien, almost confiscated it and collided with Lien. Yuna was even more stunned. That warcraft doesn't seem to be that weak, right? Altina also had a slight difference. Instructor, is it a bit too much force? Lien remained silent for a while before awkwardly turning around and saying, it seems like there's a bit. The most surprising thing was actually Lien himself. After the strength test started, He followed the process in his memory completely and did not make any unnecessary moves, fearing that it would affect the student's initial adjustment. The same goes for the first battle. According to Ryan's prediction, dealing with this warcraft would require switching twice, and it was only after the initial formation of cooperation that Altina made the final decision. I didn't expect to give it a second when I made my first move, it was so easy and left most of my strength behind. When did I become so strong? In my memory, I was able to achieve this level when I rested in Miss Hullum before the final battle, passed the test of my senior brother Cassius, completed the mystery, and officially entered the realm of Sword Saint and the highest level warrior. My current self only has a middle pass, how could it be? Not right. I made a fundamental mistake. Lien finally realized the problem. The three elements of martial arts are heart, technique, and body. Body is fundamental, technique is display, and heart is key. The realm of Sword Saint and the profound meaning of 8 leaves and 1 blade flow are not physical changes, but the sublimation of skills and hearts. The physical difference between the time of Miss Hullum and the present is negligible, but the combat effectiveness varies greatly due to the sublimation of the latter two, especially the most elusive and indescribable heart. If you insist on describing it, the biggest difference between being a sword saint and not being a sword saint when wielding a sword is the degree of ease with which they handle it. When you are not a sword saint, although you can use exquisite sword moves, you always feel that there is a gap. After becoming a sword saint, the sword becomes a part of the body. You can use your hands and fingers freely, even without thinking through your brain, and the sword will react on its own. During the process of wielding a knife, the strength not only does not dissipate, but can also be adjusted according to the enemy's state. Wherever more force is applied, there is no need to exert force, and the accumulation of force gradually leads to quantitative changes. The knife is still the same, the move is still the same, but the effect changes from being injured but not dying to being cut in half with one strike. The ultimate sword is comparable to the main gun, but the same goes for cutting open the armor of a tank with just one sword. Although the armor is harder due to its hardness, it cannot stop the blade. And this is only superficial, the transformation of martial artists to the ultimate realm is comprehensive, and Lien's more and more thoughts and more comprehensive thinking methods are also a manifestation of this change, which cannot even be described in detail. The only thing that can be confirmed is that carrying the memory of the previous time is equivalent to carrying the heart and skills of the previous time, so he is not a middle pass at all, but a true swordsman. The entire empire is few and far between, and there are only 2-digit strong individuals in the world, most likely the youngest human to reach this level in history. The advantage of starting over again is not only foresight, but also a qualitative change in combat power. Many so-called dangerous situations are no longer dangerous even after the sword saint's pressure on the formation, and many difficulties are no longer difficult situations. They can be overcome without any obstacles. The realm of Sword Saint is so powerful. Chapter 9. Me and another person who used crutches to fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, Lien understood why Aurelia had to fight him as soon as they met. It's not that you're not satisfied with yourself, nor is it that the double standards should bully the weak with strength, but rather that you see an improvement in your realm. Now Lien is definitely qualified to let Aurelia give her all, but the chance of winning is slightly small due to the difference in age and accumulation. This is still limited to the situation of martial arts. If it's not limited to martial arts and fighting fiercely, Lien has confidence that he and Aurelia will both be defeated and even fight to the death. Aurelia will die, Lien will live. Because in addition to martial arts, Lien also has a forbidden power that originates from a curse and does not belong to humans. Before the Sword Saint, he was able to support the challenge of Lien, but after the Sword Saint, he paid more attention to realm and accumulation, which would not have a significant impact. However, there may still be invincible opponents of the same level. For a moment, Lien really wanted to agree to Aurelia's request, and the two of them went all out to play a game, in order to make the most accurate evaluation of their strength in their normal and forbidden power states, and lay the foundation for future actions. But on second thought, Lien gave up again. The reason is simple: hiding strength would benefit him even more. Even Lien himself didn't expect to return with the realm of Sword Saint, let alone others. Aurelia was able to see through not only because she stood at the pinnacle of martial arts, but also because there were factors that Lien was not aware of or deliberately hidden. Strength and realm are not something that can be written on one's face, but can only be judged through experience and a few traces revealed. As long as you hide them well, no one knows where you have gone. My biological father is the best example. Most of the world knows that he is an iron-blooded prime minister, but they don't know that he actually knows martial arts. Those who know about his past only know that he is a master of the 100-style saber art, and do not know how strong he is. Forcing into Aurelia was only a matter of suspicion, without delving too deeply. It was not until the final battle that Lien realized that his father was so strong that he was definitely qualified to compete for the strongest title in the empire. This is the benefit of hiding deep. To be honest, Lien is not the kind of person who is very good at concealing himself. Fortunately, he is a swordsman who advanced with the 7th type of 8 leaves and 1 blade flow, and nothing. This is the most profound type among the 8 leaves, which emphasizes the cultivation of the mind and is not as easily visible as the body and technique. Moreover, since it is nothing, it is not easy to detect it. After all, it is not existence. The only headache is Aurelia, who has already seen the clues, but she is not the kind of person who talks too much, so it shouldn't be a problem. Upon realizing this, Lien relaxed his body and deliberately avoided entering a state of mental and physical coordination, avoiding accidentally producing tons of output. At the same time, he continued with an awkward expression and said, "Well, this is also my first time as an instructor. I want to leave a good impression on you, so I will pay attention to it later." Really, I didn't expect the heroes of the Empire to have this kind of idea too. Yuna looked at you with a helpless expression. This is also human nature, not only the instructor, but also me. You don't want to lose face, Yuna, right? Kurt expressed understanding. Of course, who would lose face in front of the Empire? I wouldn't even lose face if you did. As soon as she mentioned this, Yuna's hostility rose again. So, 2 classmates who don't want to lose face, please walk ahead and behave well. Lien withdrew his knife and extended his right hand forward. Let's go, let's go. Understand. As the two of them passed by, Lien gestured to Altina to keep an eye on her. Since I have made up my mind to hide, the less I try, the better. I can only let the strongest and most experienced Altina put in more effort. This is also a way of communicating emotions, and Lien, who has had the same experience, knows it best. Of course, not taking action does not mean that Lien will have nothing to do with the entire stroke. No matter what, he is a swordsman. Even if he has not been a saint for a long time, his vision is much stronger than that of a warrior with insufficient level. Now he can see the problems of the students more clearly. After 2 more battles, Lien, who had watched the entire process, finally had a good plan. Kurt, your footsteps are too heavy, so is your sword. Double swordsmanship is not a rigid swordsmanship, it should be more agile, killing enemies with speed and continuity. Upon hearing Lien's words, Kurt paused and turned his head to ask. Does the instructor also have research on double swordsmanship? It's quite true. The cultivation of 8 leaves 1 blade flow is a bit different from other schools, not only for practicing swords, but also for exploring other weapons and techniques. I heard that 8 leaves and 1 blade flow was created by the Sword Immortal, who collected the great achievements of Eastern swordsmanship, and it truly deserves its reputation. So, instructor, what should I do? Don't hesitate when wielding the sword, and be decisive when retracting it. Don't blindly pursue killing power. This sword is not good, you can wait for the next sword. I think you must have been influenced by Vander's flow of rigid swordsmanship. Have you also practiced rigid swordsmanship before practicing double swords? Although they are all swordsmanship, the emphasis is completely different. Don't confuse them before achieving something, as it will only delay your cultivation. The instructor even said this. Yes, you're right. Next, I also asked the instructor to give me more guidance. Kurt's pupils contracted and he respectfully lowered his head. Ahahaha, I will do my best, Lien chuckled. Of course, what he said to Kurt was not a lie, and 8 leaves 1 blade flow also deserves such praise. His guidance to Kurt was not superficial, but rather a deeper insight. Unlike most schools of thought in the world, the descendants of the 8 leaves will comprehend reason in the process of achieving the sword saint. The so-called reason is the grasp of the essence of things through appearances. Not only swords, but also not limited to martial arts. You can easily grasp the key points in everything you see and master everything you learn. This is where the saying, 1 principle is clear, 100 principles are clear, comes from. Lien's senior brother, the sword saint Cassius Brett, abandoned his sword and did not need to switch to studying stick art about 20 years ago due to some unforeseen circumstances. In just a few months, he became a master of stick art, and his strength was restored to his old view due to the wonderful use of reason. Its other title, Rare Military Expert, is also a result of applying theory to the military field. Lien was just giving advice on Kurt's double swordsmanship by analogy, which was just a small trial. Nevertheless, Kurt still benefited greatly, demonstrating the wonderful use of reason. So the instructor is so skilled, can you also guide me? Kurt was convinced, and Yuna jumped out again. I was about to tell you. Lien was already prepared. Among the 3 people in the class, Yuna is the weakest and has the worst foundation. Kurt has problems, how could she not? Yuna, the design concept of the crutch gun is very good, combining long range in close combat. However, due to the limited size of the weapon, switching between the 2 states requires a certain amount of time, so you need to be careful when choosing the state, and after selecting it, you need to be decisive. Yuna, if you don't do enough in this area, you are prone to making impulsive choices, and when you encounter setbacks after choosing, you will regret it. Especially in the form of turning, when choosing this mode, you must have the courage to face the enemy directly, and no matter how you attack, you can withstand it. Perhaps this may be a bit difficult for a girl, but the design concept of the crutch means it is not a weapon used to kill enemies. So, you must attract the enemy's firepower as much as possible, create more and better attack opportunities for your companions, which is the correct use of turning. Lien said it so seriously, but in fact, Yuna has already believed it a bit, but she just refuses to admit defeat. Humph, it sounds like that. Has the instructor also studied our Klossberg weapons, or has the technique of turning been integrated into 8 leaves 1 blade flow? No, it's not available in the book Garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. However, Lien hesitated for a moment before continuing. I fought against a police officer who used crutches when I was in Klossberg, and he left a deep impression on me. Speaking of it, he should be your senior. I remember he belonged to an organization called the Special Task Support Department. Hey, now Yuna couldn't hold her tension anymore, her screams piercing through the ceiling, causing her eardrums to ache. P.S. The Prime Minister has a relatively large fluctuation, which is not particularly good for evaluating military power. After all, only various evaluations are very strong, and the final Millennium Fortress growth rate can challenge everyone, including cheats like Lien and Gun Brother, as well as true talents like Kuro who have no blind spots in all aspects. The key lies in how much growth rate there is. However, from Aurelia's attitude, the starting point should be at the Sword Saint level. PS2. After all, it is the reincarnation of the Great Emperor. I used to think that the Great Emperor may have been weaker in military power than the Seventh Sister in the past, and had stronger leadership. After all, including the seventh sister under his command can already explain the problem, and the great emperor has a high degree of achievement. But now it seems that it is probably a comprehensive benchmark, with comparable military strength. The leadership emperor will win a bit, and as high as the seventh sister, she will win a bit. After all, the approved silver is stronger than ash, and the death of seventh sister cannot explain the problem. Who knows what the situation was at that time, perhaps it was the emperor's life that seventh sister exchanged for. PS3. Of course, the prime minister's side is probably the emperor leading in all aspects. After all, Gundam has been replaced with the most bug black. PS4. So get married quickly, you two are truly a perfect match in all aspects. PS5. Lien's sword saint is still a changed in heart, both in his moves and the ability to fully control the second stage of ghost power due to changes in mood. Just like the lightsaber said, power is power, and what truly determines is the spirit of the wielder. Chapter 10. Handsome Sword Saint, Live Teaching. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Girls, especially those with a loud and energetic voice, have a terrifying piercing power when screaming. It's so terrifying that even the new Sword Saint, Lien, can't bear it. It's so terrifying that even Altina, who has 3 nothings, can't help but complain. Yuna, the voice is too loud. Yes, I'm sorry. Teacher, instructor, you really. Yuna finally stopped speaking, her bright green eyes fixed on Lien, wanting to speak but not daring to speak, completely lacking the previous strong energy. Of course it's true, about a year and a half ago, it was called Lloyd, right, said Lien, who has no habit of teasing students. The final question is about Altina, who nodded. Lloyd Bennings, former investigator of the Special Support Division of the Klossburg Police Department, and Lisa Mao, former dancer of the Rainbow Theater, both are wanted criminals of the Empire and are still on the run. What does it mean to be on the run? It's really hard to say, it's not your empire taking it on its own. Yuna protested again. Altina didn't argue with her and continued to look at Ryan, saying, on that occasion, Coach Ryan could have arrested them. Yuna's heart followed suit, as she regarded her senior as an idol. Due to his struggles, many people did not give up hope and sank together with the Empire. Yuna couldn't even think about the fact that Lloyd was caught. Lien glanced at Yuna and defended, because the support request at that time did not require their arrest. The instructor was a temporary military officer stationed at the Governor-General's office in Klossburg at that time. The military officer's responsibility was to defend the Empire, and the arrest of dangerous elements was also among them. Those two people are not that easy to deal with either. Lien wanted to continue his defense, but when he was stared at by Altina's golden eyes, he couldn't speak anymore. Everyone knows their own business. Although Lloyd and Lisa are difficult to deal with, what they possess is no longer something that humans can compete with. It is not impossible to catch people. At that time, he was in great confusion and sadness, instinctively resisting orders from the government. Seeing the man and woman who were wanted but still worked hard and did not give up, he felt envious in his heart. Therefore, he deliberately calculated it as a win-win situation and did not take it seriously. Okay, I admit my attitude was not right at that time, it was too negative. No, I also have a responsibility. I made a mistake in judgment at the time, so I should have been more proactive. Upon hearing what Lien said, Altina's attitude and tone softened slightly. Although it was only a little bit, it was already quite difficult for her personality. You've done very well, Ren skillfully touched Altina's head. Of course, it's better now. You can think of these things on your own, talk to me about them, and continue to work hard in the future. Does this have any specific significance? Altina asked in confusion. Take this as your homework for the future. When you figure it out, you really grow. Lien withdrew his hand and entered instructor mode. Having experienced the future once, he was well aware that it would be better for Altina not to grow and gain more time. However, Ren would not restrict Artina because he is her instructor, and this is his responsibility. No, what I want to ask is, does the instructor's current behavior have any significance in terms of lower, clan, flow? Daring, Altina and Lien thought it was completely different. Lien's expression stiffened as he forcefully used the Sword Saint's realm to control his body and stabilize his smile. Of course not, you have asked the same question many times. I really hope you can also grow in this area, he said. Once you grow up, you can go down, clam, stream. Altina tightly held onto it. No. Lien almost broke through. This is the Sword Saint level composure, truly worthy of being the Artina who hides the ultimate power, terrifying like this. Instructor, Altina, what are you talking about? I don't quite understand, can you explain it? Kurt, the onlooker, interjected without intending to continue watching. Yeah, I also have a lot of things I want to ask Instructor Lien and classmate Altina to explain. Yuna also regained consciousness from her own thoughts. What's going on? Why did the instructor fight with Luo? And they got into a fight. The specific details are confidential and cannot be disclosed, replied Altina. So why would Altina know? It's because of the intelligence agency. No, I was responsible for supporting Instructor Ryan and working with him. I was also present during the battles against Lloyd Bennings and Lisa Mao. Are you also present? Yuna said she was too weak to be shocked. So, you're 14 this year, and a year and a half ago, you were 12 or 3 years old. How could the Empire let such a young child like you go on a mission? It's not related to age, my performance with the lightsaber is sufficient. Altina couldn't understand why everyone was obsessed with age. Is it meaningful? Seeing such Altina, Yuna felt that if she continued to ask, she might not be able to find anything, so she could only turn to Lien. The instructor learned about the use of crutches from Senior Lloyd. I guess so. The guidance is based on reason, but upon careful consideration, Lloyd did indeed apply it in this way and came up with his own style. That man is very good at defense and has blocked my blade many times. It's like this. Upon hearing Lien say this, Yuna smiled relieved. You really deserve to be Senior Lloyd. There is only one advantage, endurance. Altina poured cold water, the combat power is not strong, and the real challenge is still Lisa Mao. The instructor and I are more constrained by her. Miss Li Xia. Yuna didn't quite believe it, is she so strong? Yes, she is very strong, not average strong. Under normal circumstances, she is stronger on a 1.1 basis than me or Altina. That battle, Lloyd was indeed the person who left the deepest impression on Ryan, but it was because of Lloyd's gaze and the will displayed in the battle. When it comes to combat effectiveness, Li Xia Mao is the strongest one. Not only is her martial arts stronger than Lien, but she is also proficient in various attack methods. Zhaozuhuan.com Swordsmanship, Claws, Eastern Talismans, Hidden Weapons, Qigong. All reached a considerable level. If it weren't for standing in front of him as a human, it would be difficult for Lien to imagine that she was a girl of his age. When he was studying with Sword Immortal back then, he had heard that each of these required a considerable amount of time to achieve success, and the difficulty of cultivation was not much lower than that of 8 leaves and 1 blade flow. Perhaps that is the true genius. Even today, Lien, who understands reason and stands at the height of Sword Saint, still believes so. Even due to the improvement of her realm, her evaluation of Lisa has been further elevated. That young girl is probably very close to the peak level of martial arts, much closer than the distance between Lien and the Sword Saint at that time. Perhaps by this time, she has already stepped into this level. P.S. Perhaps Li Ye's conjecture is not true, otherwise the people of the Empire should not be able to restrain Li Xia. A Sword Saint level assassin, or a special type of king, capable of sneaking and beheading, unparalleled in front. It's terrifying to think about it. PS2. Luo Yi. I can even catch your second senior brother's knife, you can pass it like a feather. Mr. Li. Come and give it a try now, Ghost Chi plus Sword Saint, 3 million yuan per sword. My version of S skills will definitely hit. PS3. If Li Yi accidentally killed Luo Yi while driving a Gundam in that duel, it is estimated that he will also be assassinated by Li Xia in no time. Then, may Mr. Li become an immortal. Li Xia killed time and time again, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get rid of it. She kept getting entangled like this, and the more she thought about it, the more it felt. As expected, it was Li Xia who couldn't escape. PS4. Lisa is not a member of the support department, and the people of Kuzhou may not know her strength. It is assumed that Yuna does not know.